The general setting of Flexi clocking schedule is slightly different in comparison with daily and weekly clocking schedule. The first setting is capture the first and last records as attendance. By selecting this option, the system automatically takes the first clocking of the user and the last clocking of the user and performs calculation for the total work hour. However, if there is any clocking done between the first clocking and the last clocking of the user, the system will just ignore to take it into any effect. You can specify to have 3 pairs of clocking in Flexi clocking schedule. If you want the system to display only 1 pair of clocking inside the attendance tab, you can set this option to 1. The next different rule in Flexi clocking schedule is the availability of enabling or disabling the work code or job cost setting. To be able to use this option, you have to text this and you are needed to create duty codes in software and device. You can create the duty codes or work codes at the remark button here. By selecting this option, all the clocking pairs for each users will be saved and displayed inside the attendance sheet. The total work hour is the sum of work hour between each interval of the clocking that the user has performed. The next general rule that you can set inside the Flexi clocking schedule is the maximum work hours to be considered as the same workday. This is for the case when an employee reports to work late night, while the hours are extended until the next day. You need to specify the maximum work hours to be considered as the same working day. For example, if an employee starts work at 10 p.m. and can only fulfill 8 hours of work, you can specify the maximum work hours in this column for 8 or 9 to ensure the outclocking of next day will be considered as the same working day. Setting this option at the next day on 6 a.m. when the employee clocks out, the out time will be considered for the same working day. Separation hours between an out clocking and subsequent in clocking to qualify for next day. Following the previous rule, you need to specify a duration between an out clock out and an in clocking. For example, if a guard clocks out at 6 a.m. and you set this time to 6 hours, the hours specified in this column will define his rest time before he can clock in again for the next working day. This option is to ensure that the security guard has taken enough rest before starting his next working shift. The next option is the last logout time to consider as same workday, as displayed recommended for the last logout time after midnight. For the late night shifts that extends to the next day, the last logout time allows users to define the time considered as same working day. For an example, if you set this time to 8 a.m., clocking's done until 8 a.m. next day, while performing an overnight shift is considered as the same working day and will not fall for the next day of attendance. Double punch for consecutive clocking in a clocking slot if it is within minutes of. For example, if I set this option to 15 minutes. Within this defined period, the clocking will be considered for one time only. Example, if an employee clocks in at 9 a.m. and time is set to 15 as you can see in the screen, all his verifications that has been performed within the next 15 minutes will be denied or ignored by the system, and only the first clocking is to be considered for the attendant. That would be all for the general rule setting of the Flexi clocking schedule. The rounding rules of the Flexi clocking schedule and the rounding rules of the daily and weekly clocking schedule are similar to each other. So we skip on the running rules and move on to the break rules.